Welcome to Three Witches and a Druid podcast, a Canadian podcast about paganism in today's modern society. Welcome back to Season 3 of Three Witches and a Druid podcast. Today we present a spooky story from Steve Vernon, read by Karen Larter.
Which side of the stem to stern bed and breakfast? A Queen Anne revival house built way back in 1868. Just try and picture that now, will you? Imagine yourself fast asleep in your bed when all of a sudden the temperature plummets as if you took a fast freight elevator ride down into the frozen ninth circle of Dante's Inferno. Then, as you shiver alone in the darkness, you hear a strange tapping at the window. So you rise up out of bed and open the curtains and look outside to see the rotted remains of a man hanging by his neck from a ratty old rope slung over the branches of a nearby tree, swaying patiently in the breeze. Imagine the bony right arm of that remnant of a man is sticking out stiffly in the twisted rigors of ancient death, with the sickly yellowed fingernails of a long, bony hand tapping persistently at your window. And he is staring at you. This ghastly apparition has been witnessed many times over the years. Even after a change in ownership, the new owner reported that on 2 separate evenings she bore witness to the sight of the hideous dangling figure. On the very first night that I moved in, I saw it at the window, she said. I was terrified, but it did not seem to mean me harm. Then 2 weeks later, the temperature in the bedroom dropped like a stone down a well, and the owner heard the same persistent scratching at the window again. I told myself the scratching was nothing, but the rattle of the wind, she explained. I told myself I didn't need to go to the window and look and see. I told myself it was nothing more than the wind moving a branch against the window pane. Yet, when she opened her eyes, the figure was standing in the very bedroom itself, scowling at her. His face was swollen, blue and purple, and his neck was rope-burned and twisted into nearly a 90-degree angle. I wanted to scream just as loudly as I could scream, she said, but something told me that my screaming wouldn't do me any good. So instead, I took a deep breath in and forced myself to calmly speak. And this is what she told the ghost. I am sorry, but we are closed for the night. If you are looking for a room, you will have to look elsewhere. When I asked her if the trick worked for her, she just smiled and shrugged. He looked confused, she admitted, as if he hadn't expected me to say that. I wasn't about to allow this spirit to ruin my evening. He slowly vanished, like an old-time photograph developing itself in reverse. Then, once he disappeared, I felt certain that he was going to reappear again. So that evening, I went to bed and I pulled the blankets up over my head. "And did you sleep?" I asked her. Not a wink, she confessed. Are you still interested in booking a room at the Stem to Stern Bed and Breakfast? And more importantly, are you brave enough to go and spend the night?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Three Witches and a Druid. Since it's October, we're actually already into the hot chocolate season. No booze in it, sadly.
It's the middle of the day.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon right now.
I was considering doing up like a fancy drink, but it's like, it's the middle of the day.
I want that one, the drunk witch one. That's the one I want.
The drunk witch one?
The purpley drunk witch.
Oh, okay. We'll have to look this up.
Oh, no, it was going around. I'll send it to you.
Karen made this fancy one the other day called the Hocus Pocus. It was very orangey. I'll post the recipe. It was good, but it was very, very sugary.
Yeah.
A little too sugary for me.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm Margot.
And I'm Maeve.
Gwen?
And I'm Brian. So we've talked this topic before. We're just pretty much rehashing festivals because we got to go to a festival. But also in this episode is also our first episode of season 3. Yay!
Yay!
And I wanted to do a little bit of, I guess, like office work before we kind of get into today's topic, because we're doing really well and we should be really proud of ourselves. Yay!
The whole thing shocks me to death.
Yeah, so we started looking at analytics and we have people all over the world listening to us. Why? We have no idea. But we got, there's 656 of you in Australia. There is 294 of you in Germany. 2,203 of you in the United Kingdom. Pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Yeah.
English is their first language, so they're more discerning, you would assume, than some of the other countries.
Yeah, well, like there's 25 in Brazil, 4 in Argentina, 47 in Chile.
Again, I wonder how many of these people listen to it on their own thinking, I'm the only one around here.
Yes,
So
exactly.
to find a way to reach out and connect with other people would be
We got
interesting.
2 in Nepal.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know we have a shout out to Saudi Arabia, you were saying.
Yeah, 6 in Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
You need to
6.
find each other.
Yeah, and go have coffee. 6 in
get
Turkey,
caught.
9 in Greece. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. 4 in Romania, 3 in Hungary. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So for a little COVID project, this has been a lot of fun. And I think we're going to keep going.
It's wonderful. I'm very, very grateful to be part of all that. You guys are awesome.
Other than that, I think like the main reason the topic today came up is because me, Gwen, and Maeve got to go to a festival, a local festival called AEGIS. Do they call it AEGIS or AEGIS?
I have heard both. Maeve?
I have heard both. I've heard AEGIS and AEGIS.
Yeah.
I don't know what the acronym stands for.
I don't know if it has an acronym because AEGIS is a word.
Yeah.
I thought it was an acronym or something.
I think both. I think
Maybe.
they were making a play on a word.
Yeah.
So.
And poor Margot here did not get to go.
No, I didn't get to go. I had to be responsible and realize that my new shiny knee was not quite ready to be out in the wilderness trying to get up off of an air mattress. So
Yeah.
So-
come with your camp comic next year.
I just or bring my lazy bastard chair too.
Yeah.
That was what I was also thinking. But I had to be responsible and realize I just wasn't ready. And I would have been just a burden to everybody. But I thought about you guys and wistfully wished, especially when Brian posted pictures on Facebook around the fire too.
Yeah.
It was just so nice.
It was really chilly that one night.
Yeah.
But we got a tent heater. We're good. It was really marvelous to be back. It was in a darling little campground on the South Shore here, and it was wonderful. And lots of new people too.
Yeah.
And about how many people attended, do you think?
Their cutoff was 50. If they didn't have 50, they were throwing it together kind of do we, don't we, COVID, all these sorts of things. And they were, well, let's see if we can pull it off. September's, it cools off here in September. And I think they were concerned about, do we even have enough people interested at this time of year? And their cutoff was 50. So they must have had 50 people say that they were interested. I think we probably saw 40 regularly.
Yeah. A couple of people were staying. They were coming for the day. And
I seriously thought about driving down for the day, but something else must have happened that weekend that I didn't do that.
You could get there from Metro in 35 minutes.
Yeah.
it was quite close.
Yeah.
So it was nice to be at the first in-person festival in quite some time. Lots of nice workshops.
Yeah.
Some wonderful rituals. I ran an excellent stumble.
He did. He did.
I will stay next time because I have stumble trauma from the past that we can go.
There was a great bardic circle.
Yes, we went around the circle. Lots of people did things. It was really nice.
Yeah. So one of the other things, though, is we took our little podcasting equipment here, and we interviewed a few individuals who were there about their past experiences at festivals, some of them being brand new to festivals. So, we're going to listen to an interview. So here we go.
So, Gwen here, and I'm with Mike. And Mike, can you tell me about your first festival?
My first festival was probably one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had in the pagan community. I went 3 hours away from home with a bunch of hippies in the back of a windowless rental van, piled in with gear, not knowing where I was going, and we pulled up to this beautiful property that just radiated some sort of magical energy. Time disappeared, and there were so many smiling faces and welcoming and a strong sense of community. The rituals were all very powerful and moving, and I knew at that moment that that was my path.
What a beautiful... How old were you?
I was a wee baby witchling. I was all of 18, my first festival.
Yeah, I was not 18, and it was still an overwhelming... I was in my 30s for my first one, and it was overwhelming. So I can totally understand how it would be. Can you think of any stories that you want to share from festivals past?
Ooh, I think one of my most impressive, or the story that's the most impressive to me, was we did a ritual called Raising the Mists. And I always believed in this stuff, and I knew it kind of worked, but it was this ritual that kind of changed everything for me. And so being along the coast, we often get the fog rolling in and rolling out, especially during late August. And this one evening, we were all standing around the main fire for the main ritual of Raising the Mists. And when the circle was cast, the fog came in, and I watched it slowly roll up over the crowd in a perfect half circle, like a perfect hemisphere.
Wow. And
travel down over the other side to continue on into the forest. And that was my most impressive memory / story from festival.
Yes, that is amazing. Amazing. So we've been through 2 years of no festivals, and we finally have this little sort of almost impromptu because things became safe and whatever. How do you feel being back?
I love it. You kind of go away sometimes, your path may change, and then you come back, and there's always a feeling of coming home when you come to a festival. These are your people,
Your people. And path doesn't matter. Everybody is so pluralistic and welcoming that it's so wonderful. I agree. Anything else?
Anything to add? Go to as many festivals as you possibly can. Explore different paths. I find each festival has its own flavor. So I did a couple festivals down in the States that were amazing. And you can't really compare them. It's like apples and oranges.
That's right.
So check them all out. Have fun.
That's right.
Explore.
Have fun. So what great advice. Thank you so much.
No problem.
But yeah, so what are some things you guys had taken away from the festival?
From being back at a festival after COVID, I think that's the big thing, is because although I'm community oriented, my practice is primarily solitary, but it really energizes you if you can inject a little bit of that energy. And everybody was very positive and very invested in making a good weekend because it was everybody's first time after COVID.
Yeah. So what is it that you guys took away from the festival?
It was really, really nice to be back. That was a huge thing. And we met some really nice new people, which was good. And I always really, really enjoyed the workshops and I got some really good idea there too for the future. And it was, like I say, it was cold, really. It was 4 degrees one night. It was a little cold, but I was glam camping with a catalytic heater.
4 Celsius for people that use other systems. 4 Celsius, so cold but not frigid. Yes.
So what would that be in Fahrenheit? 40-ish?
Yeah.
About 40. Yeah, it was pretty chilly at night, but it was good. It was just lovely to be. I enjoy any time I'm sleeping outdoors, eating outdoors.
I love eating outdoors. I don't know what it is about being outdoors. And
the one lovely thing about a later festival, because in the recent past, we have had a lot of dry summers and fire bans.
Mm-hmm.
So it was September. We just had a rain. There was no fire ban. We had fires at all the campsites. We had a large main fire every night. It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. And getting up, and the cast iron frying pans are on the campfire at your site with the bacon in it. I didn't hate that.
Yes.
It was just wonderful to see people, and some people I hadn't seen in quite a while.
Yeah, that's right.
That was real nice.
And again, this is an assumption because I wasn't there, but when you were saying, Gwen, how people really were invested in it, I can imagine, since it was such short notice and sort of put on in organized in such a short time, that people who did attend were there because they really wanted to be, as opposed to sometimes in festivals, people show up to be sort of, I don't know, flighty about it and not.
It's entertainment as opposed to
spiritual.
Right.
Yes.
Growth that's kind of the
thing.
nice thing when you have festivals like this that are smaller, is there was a lot more intimacy. So there was more spiritual connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you kind of lose that when you have bigger festivals a little bit.
Because in bigger festivals, my past experience has been you almost find your little clique and then stay comfortable there.
Yes.
As opposed to meeting people that you've never met before and having that genuine exchange.
Right.
Yeah.
All I can say is I was ecstatic to be and it was a real easy setup. You pulled right into your site. I love that. There was no wheelbarrow.
No hauling stuff overland.
Yes, but it's 36 degrees across the field. I liked that.
We only got away with that though because of the attendance. Like they had told us that we're probably going to have to park out on the road and wheel everything in because less people showed up.
They were afraid of cars not being enough room.
Exactly.
But we were fine.
Yeah. So let's listen to another interview.
All right. Hi, Melody.
Hi.
So happy to speak to you. So I was going to ask you first, what is your very first festival memory like?
Well, my very first festival memory would take us back about 5 years. A friend had been bugging me for years to come, and I finally agreed. And I remember when I first stepped foot out of my car when I arrived at Carsdale, the energy and stuff was just so amazing. I was instantly hooked. And then I met all the wonderful people. But the main reason we went, besides wanting to finally experience what Phil had been telling me about, was it was our 20th anniversary, my husband and I. And I've always, even before I found my path, I was always very drawn to historical Celtic traditions and stuff like that. And my husband had agreed to do a hand fasting. So for our 20th anniversary, we had a hand fasting at AEGIS, and it was absolutely perfect. It had poured the night before and it was still raining in the morning, and I thought, oh no, this is completely ruined, because we had no shelter on the main field or anything. But the morning started to slow down, and by the time we actually got to the time that had been set for our hand fasting, which everybody participated in, people there was people that came and did my hair, and one of the ladies that I had just made friends with went and gathered bouquet of wildflowers and did a circlet and everything. And we did the full traditional hand fasting, and it was just so beautiful. And Phil was the high priest for it. And we had another member that was the high priestess. And even today, and my husband's not pagan, but even today he says, and we've been married, 3 times. Our original wedding, and then we renewed our vows with the church wedding, and then we did this, and to this day he even says that it means the most out of all the times we've dedicated ourselves to each other.
And that all was your first?
That was our very first AEGIS. And my husband hasn't been back since because of work and stuff. But the next year, I volunteered in the kitchen that year with Phil. And then the next year I was his assistant. And then before he passed, he handed me the feast coordinator position too. So, and I love cooking and baking. And it just perfect for me to be there. So
Wonderful. Oh, that is such a lovely story. And now we're here in a very new spot for the AEGIS Festival. What do you think?
I was honestly unsure. The main reason I jumped on the chance to come to AEGIS was to see everybody and just experience the things that I had loved all along. But I was worried. I was worried about the land, worried that it would have the same energy, that we could create the same environment. But you know what? What has been said at every opening ritual for every AEGIS that I have been to, COVID interrupted the last couple, but it's not the land, it's the people that make AEGIS happen. And it proved true. But the main thing is this is almost as perfect as Carsdale was, honestly.
In a very different way.
Yeah, it's not
in a very different way, but it is a beautiful piece of land.
It is, and the energy is just as strong. It's just different.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm glad that we have this, and I'm looking forward to next year and every year to come.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm happy to talk to you.
There was some definitely workshops that we hadn't seen before, which was really nice.
Yeah, that's right. Maeve was at one of the most impactful ones. Here she is snickering in the background. That's not amusement, that's embarrassment. So she can share.
So we did this someone I had never met before, a lovely lady. And she did this workshop that was something from her own personal experience. And everybody got a mirror. And you stared into the mirror. And there was some things going on, and she had explained this situation in her life that had caused her to do this, that had changed the way the attitude she had about herself and how people felt about her. You know, it was just a small short time when you could do it for hours if you wanted. But I believe that at our campsite, 3 of us came back in tears. Yeah, there was 3 of us who were just a mess coming back. And I know you were looking at me, Gwen, going, what the heck? I was like, can I share what happened with me?
Sure.
It was very interesting because you were supposed to stare into the mirror and, accept yourself for this. I, however, sort of broke into 2 people. It was a real freak out, and I'm still thinking on it. The person in the mirror, though it was absolutely me, was a separate entity to me. I was bracing myself for it to start speaking back to me, for me to start speaking back to me or to move in a different way. It was really, really, really shocking how absolutely separate person in the mirror and me were. I'm thinking on that. It was a freak out. That's why I came back freaked out.
Well, do you remember what I told you?
Which one was no? Probably.
Okay. So the reason it was a different person, because it was a changeling. And mirrors are doorway between the Fey lands.
I remember now. I had blocked it from my mind. No beeping fairies.
So when you brought that mirror into my house the other day.
It wasn't my mirror. That was Mike's mirror.
Yeah, it's still. I'm also, I would like a pat in the back because I was able to fix Maeve's mic by turning the dial that I didn't realize was turned down.
There we go.
So now you're less echoey.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. It is something I'd like to do again. And, maybe work on my own a little bit too. But I'd like to do it with a bunch of people again. But it was really, I've never had that happen before. Maybe because I was staring long enough. And maybe because it was, outside in the bright light. It's like, do I have that many wrinkles? When I look in the regular mirror, I don't see that many wrinkles. But no, it's like, what the heck was that? We were 2 different, it was me, but I was 2 different people.
I haven't figured it out yet.
Or what message that person had for you.
Well, that's why I'm going to try it again for a longer period, because I was so freaked out that it was somebody, it was disconnected from me. I really did brace myself for it to start, for them, her, whatever, to start talking. And I was like, if they start talking and I'm not prepared, I'm going to have some kind of nervous breakdown right here. But it was very interesting. It was really good.
So with all this, so they're going to have it again next year, of course. And I was a little disappointed to see that they're going to move it back to August, because personally, I actually really enjoyed it being in September.
And I thought they did too, the organizers, but there seemed to be some feedback that some people maybe didn't like the cold. I'm not sure, but yeah.
It was in the second half of the month. When was it, 16th-ish?
Yeah, but like I felt if they had maybe done it the long weekend at the beginning of September, just before school starts, but it's still September, so it's a little bit chillier. I think that'd be the perfect time. No bugs.
There's the biggie. I think the 4th week of August would be great. Still not cold, but the bugs are non-existent.
Yeah. So I don't remember the date right off the top of my head, but
18th-ish of August.
Yeah, 18th, 19th, 20th, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah.
2023.
But when they put up some posts, we'll put it on our Instagram.
Yeah, so come on up to Nova Scotia.
Yeah. So another thing, though, is that we're holding our own festival.
Yes, we are.
Not the podcast, but like us in general. And our festival is going to be August 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Don't have a name yet. Still working out the details. But I'm sure at some point we'll actually probably do an episode on organizing your own festival.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so it'll be kind of fun. I'm excited for it. I've got lots of ideas.
And we have a venue.
We have a venue, yeah.
So
Which is really
we're
good.
excited about that.
Yes.
So come on over to Nova Scotia.
Yeah. And you can tent, and we're really close to a little town just outside of Wolfville. So if you're not really much of a camper, you can
There's
stay in
lots
Wolfville.
of spots to stay.
Yeah,
Some nice little Airbnbs and stuff.
bread and breakfasts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're feeling really, really adventurous and you don't mind the hippies, and
Hippie
look
fest.
up if there's a rainbow festival in your country or your state. They're all over the world. The rainbow gatherings have been going on since the early 70s. And originally it was the rainbow meant many races, many colors, many creeds. And they can be really fun too.
They're pagan adjacent.
They are pagan adjacent, yes.
But yeah, because they're many everything. There's
Many everything.
all inclusive.
It is all inclusive.
You will find
you want to have a good time. It can be really, really fun. A lot of people, even if they aren't necessarily pagan, very like-minded, very interested in the earth and community, and it's really a good time. It's really, really fun. There, another thing to think about. And they're all over the world. You can go wherever and go to a rainbow.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool in the summers.
There's a couple of other festivals across Canada.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
across Canada.
Like Three Rivers in Ontario. There's PanFest out west.
And I think everybody's just kind of holding back and waiting to see what comes back after COVID, because I know that there's some that have this hiatus. A lot of times things fall on the same volunteers year after year, and they're like, oh, I had a rest.
Yes.
I kind of like this rest.
Yeah.
And they may not come back, or they may not come back in the same way. So we're all just waiting to see what's happening, but hopefully things get reinstated next summer. That
Yeah.
people
Well,
have
also like
options.
with red tape and insurance, you've got all sorts of insurance does not cover anything COVID related.
No.
So if you have an outbreak and you have to cancel, you lose your shirt.
You lose your shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's listen to the last interview. All right. So me, Brian, is sitting here with Andrew, who attended the very first APEG here in Nova Scotia, which was the Nova Scotia's first pagan festival, and you've attended many AEGIS's. So tell me about your first experience at APEG. How did you find out about it?
I lived in Ontario, and I saw an advertisement in The Loom, the magazine
Loom?
from Vancouver.
Okay.
Heckate's Loom, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
If I remember right, the magazine. And I just decided that I'm going to go to that. And I dragged a friend who had zero interest in the pagan religion at all. He was raised Jewish. That was his thing. But
Right.
I dragged him along, and I dragged him along to the second year. We drove down from Ontario for the first two. And then that winter I moved to Nova Scotia.
So you drove quite a ways to go to one pagan festival.
About 1,000 miles.
And you didn't move here for the festival, but you did become involved in the
Yeah, I
festival.
became involved with planning it.
Yeah.
It was a long, kind of a hard decision because, you know, my family's not here.
Right.
And I knew very few people here.
But you made friends in the pagan community.
Yes. And I had much better employment here than I would have where I was living before.
Oh, good. So how many years did you attend the pagan festival here in Nova Scotia, APEG at the time?
I went to the first 5 years of APEG.
Okay.
And then there was some bad blood and I dropped out of the community for a little while.
Right. But now you're back.
I'm back.
Yeah. Did you go back to APEG at any point?
No.
No. Okay.
No. And very shortly after that, we moved out of the city and down to the valley.
Okay.
A few years after that. And it was odd. I was at the exhibition in town where I'm living, and I heard a voice behind me. And it's like, I know that voice. It's Maeve.
Oh.
So I turned around and was talking to her, and she dragged me out to the next AEGIS. I don't remember whether it was that year or the next year.
Or
I think
it was
the
AEGIS?
next year.
Okay.
It was the next year, summer, because the exhibition's the end of August, and this was at the beginning.
Right, okay. So, from your years at APEG, do you have any, fond memories? Anything that stood out? Do you have a crazy story to tell?
Not that's safe for radio.
No, this ain't radio, it's podcasting.
Yeah,
And we have to drink on it, so it's not safe for children anyway. So, now, as I was saying, we're now sitting at AEGIS. What's the first AEGIS you attended?
that would be, I'm not sure whether it was 5 or 6 years ago. Would have been the first. I think this will be the fourth one I've been to, so with the 2-year hiatus in the middle, that would be 6.
Okay. And do you have any particular stories stand out at AEGIS?
It's a smaller group, and it's a lot closer together.
It's definitely more intimate.
Yeah, there's more. That's a good word. More intimate than some of the APEG were.
Right. Yeah. The thing with APEG is that I think at the height we had 250 people on that field at one point. Have you attended any other festivals?
Not pagan festivals.
Not pagan festivals. Okay.
I have been to a couple of rainbow festivals.
Oh, okay.
And those are
Hippie
interesting.
fests.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have anything you would like to sort of see in the future from AEGIS or any other festival that may come up?
Going back to the long weekend might be nice. That extra day.
Yeah.
Is nice to have. It's
the time.
It's only one full day.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
Because you're coming in Friday afternoon and you're leaving Sunday morning.
Right.
Having the 2 full days was really nice.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much. Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll talk to you again.
Thanks very much for listening. It's a beautiful day here, and it's always wonderful to be here talking with everyone. So if you would like to contact us, or you have any questions or comments, suggestions, things you'd like for us to talk about, you can get a hold of us on our Facebook page. So also today, our release date is October the 14th, and also today, October the 14th, on ckdu.ca online, I will be doing a follow-up to the Earth, Air, Fire, Water episodes that we have been doing on elemental deficiencies with your person and how to deal with those. So you can, again, tune into ckdu.ca to listen to the Witching Hour at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'd like to also thank our Patreons.
Yep.
3 Witches and a Druid podcast would like to take a moment to shout out to our amazing Patreon supporters from all around the world. Today, Margot, Gwen, Maeve, and Brian would like to welcome our newest Patreons, Chris, Stephanie Matthew, Samantha Brooks, and Thomas Wilding. Without your generous contributions, now and over the past 2 seasons, we could not bring you this magical content, and we thank you once again for listening.
Hey.
And again, thank you very much. And until next time, everybody, merry meet.
Merry part.
And merry meet again.
Blessed be.
This has been 3 Witches and a Druid podcast. Thanks for listening.